Running is a terrible way to lose weight, and in this video I'm going to explain to you why, give you some science behind it and some strategies that are going to make your weight loss way more successful. Those of you that have used running as a tool or a strategy to lose weight in the past have likely seen that weight go back on. I'm going to explain to you why that happens. I'm going to explain to you why running is not a very optimal strategy for it. Nothing against running here. Running is a fantastic form of movement. We are designed to move and run. If you enjoy running, then it probably should be something which you actually engage with. Or if you wanted to get better at running, run park runs, do a half marathon, a marathon, then of course you need to run. That's part of the process. But I'm talking from the point of view of weight loss, losing body fat off your body, why it's not very optimal and what will be more optimal in actually getting to lose weight and keep it off. So first things first, I'm going to introduce the magic whiteboard here. So the whiteboard here, I'm going to talk to you about energy balance. So energy balance is effectively about calories in versus out. You've probably all heard of the term calorie deficit. That refers to, my magnet is sticking to this board, not going well. Where was I? I'm going to tell you what a calorie deficit ultimately. I'm not going to tell you exactly what a calorie deficit is in detail. We're going to go over some of this in another video, but the simple layman's terms, calorie deficit results in more energy being expended than we consume through food and drink. Now, if energy balance is neutral, we are consuming effectively the same amount of calories that we expend. It is way more complicated than that, and I'm going to go into a lot more detail in another video. But if we expend more, if we intake more, so this would be more calories in than out, we are going to gain weight because the body just has to store that energy somewhere, and it's going to store it on our body and inside of our body as visceral fat, which is obviously not good. If you have more visceral fat, you're more prone for disease and issues, right? But when we want to lose weight, this is what we want to ultimately get to over X period of time. So if over a month, our expenditure is greater than that of what we put in through food, and yes, it does matter. I'm going to go into this in another video about where those calories come from, etc. But to keep it super simple, because we're going to talk about running and things like that today, if we have expended more energy than we put in, we are going to lose weight. How much weight that is depends on how large or small the deficit is going to be. Now, the problem with running is there is a certain thing called metabolic adaptation. And as we get fitter, our body becomes more efficient, which is what we want, right? So if you ran 5K in 30 minutes, and then you ran 5K in 30 minutes and you kept doing that, it will get easier. And the downside from a fat loss point of view is you will be burning less calories. So the deficit will just get smaller. You become more efficient. So you either have to run for longer to keep making that, to keep hitting the same calorie burn, or you have to run faster. But there is not an infinite amount of time which you're going to be happy to invest to keep running then hours and hours and hours and hours. And a lot of people overestimate massively how many calories it actually is going to burn, running, jogging, etc. So, for example, the average person will burn somewhere in the region maybe of 180 to 360 calories from doing, say, 30 minutes of jogging, running. The heavier you are, the more you're going to burn. It's all going to vary, right? Depending on your fitness level. Like I said, the more fit you are, the less calories you burn doing it. Your body's more efficient. Your body weight, the heavier you are, the more calories you burn. You're moving more mass around. And obviously like the speed, etc. But it's more just going to be about how long do I do this for? I have to keep increasing the time over time. You just burn less calories, and then you reach a plateau, and many of you that have done this, you reach a plateau with your weight loss and you wonder why. You're still doing the same things, and that's when you get very demotivated. You put a lot of time and energy into this because running is a lot of energy and time demanding, right? So metabolic adaptation means you're going to burn less calories over the course of time doing exactly the same thing. If you're then getting lighter as well from that initial weight loss, you're then still burning less calories. And you just have to keep going on and on and on. And at some point, you're going to need to stop because it's quite a time investment. This is why, you know, people on the marathon will, doing marathon training, do a hell of a lot of running, hours and hours and hours of it, and you will lose weight if obviously you're not consuming more calories than what you're expending. Some people do still gain weight marathon training because they smash back a load of calories. I knew a girl that did exactly that. And then what happens when you stop? You stop the running, your energy out goes from a very, very high amount down to very little again, or a lot less, and the weight will go on. So it's always going to be a short-term strategy like that, unless you are those people that run a great deal and they run all the time. They love running, and that's great. But if that isn't you and you're just looking to engage in something because you think it's going to help you get the result, running isn't going to be the answer, especially if you're more of an overweight person, and maybe the joints aren't happy with that amount of load and they're not used to it, and you can get injuries, and ultimately it's probably not going to be a fun process. Now, the key to actually losing weight and not regaining it, before I go on to that, because I got these nuts out anyway, just to put it into perspective, when you're obviously running for, say, half an hour, as an example, or you're burning 200 calories doing it, this is 35 grams of almonds. This is over 200 calories here, just over 200 calories, in a handful. That would take me 30, 40 seconds to just eat. And I want to put this into perspective because it will be a lot easier for you to remove 200 calories from your diet, or make a smart switch or two which produces thousands of calories of a deficit and reduces this number here lower than it is to expend it. In an ideal fashion, we need to kind of do a bit of both. We need to, what can we do that's going to maintain a higher amount of output than maybe what we're currently doing, as well as reducing the amount of calories that we are putting in. Now, the means of exercise that you choose to do that is largely irrelevant, and it should be what you enjoy and you feel you can keep up and sustain. A lot of people, that might just be walking more, because for you to run 30 minutes, say, it might, depending on obviously again the speed that you do it for, but say for example you did 30 minutes of running, and say that was probably going to be, you know, say it's going to be about something like 4,000 or 5,000 steps, say for example. It will take you 2-ish times, maybe 3 times if you're a very fast runner, to do that amount of steps by walking rather than running. But for you to walk 5k versus running 5k might be a surprise to you, but you actually burn a very similar amount of calories. But again, we're never going to know because it depends on the fitness level, of course, how many you do to burn. But just to move your body 5 kilometers by gently walking, which is quite easy for even people that are very unfit, because we ultimately have to walk all day anyway, and some people will do that 5, 10, 15,000 steps, say, by default, just going about there every day. Or if they go for a walk actively daily, they choose to try and do more, or they go for a longer walk on the weekend. It's not going to be any different from a weight loss point of view to run or walk. The running is just going to be better fitness adaptations. Cardiovascularly, it's going to be better because your heart rate's more elevated. But when we are looking to just lose weight, moving is going to be the key. Moving is what burns calories, because ultimately we just need to burn calories. So it can actually be much easier for you to walk 10 kilometers and take 2 hours to do it than try and run 5. And you burn more calories in the walking. So this is why bodybuilders you don't see bodybuilders running very often, if at all, right? They are just walking because they're big people with a lot of muscle mass, and for them to get super shredded for a show or something, they just need to expend energy. So walking is generally going to be the first choice way to do that. Now, hopefully this has been a bit thought-provoking, but ultimately the key to sustained weight loss is learning how to live with a better energy balance equation. So let's take someone that is 100 kilograms. They're a little bit overweight. They're 100 kilograms. They need to do this. If they want to lose 20 kilos, they need to get this energy deficit. But depending on how fast they want to lose that, if they wanted to lose, say, 20 kilos in 20 weeks, that is a kilo loss per week, which is 1,000 deficit per day, 1,000 calorie deficit per day. So we ultimately need to find ways. That's quite a large deficit, by the way. So we would have to try and move more, and we would have to have a slightly lower intake than if we wanted to do that in 40 weeks, or we want to lose 10 kilos in 20 weeks, because that's half the deficit, which is then a lot easier. Now, the key to any weight loss being easier and sustained, more importantly, is to, like I said, live at a better energy balance. If you want to live life at an 80 kilogram body weight, i.e. have 20 kilograms less fat on your body than if you're 100 kilos, you have to behave like an 80 kilogram person. And that is going to involve consuming less calories, because you cannot just keep your expenditure super high all the time. You have to change habits and nutritional behaviors. So for you, it is going to be making these very, very subtle, small calorie changes, like changing to the 1 calorie spray from olive oil can save you 200 calories just in the pan. That's like running for half an hour. A lot easier to do. Small adaptations to your diet that are going to maybe raise protein a little bit, reduce calories, etc. I'm going to go into way more depth in another video on this, but nutrition is going to be the key for your sustained weight loss. We have to ingrain new habits and behavior if we're going to keep the weight off. Otherwise, if we're just using exercise alone, we expend calories, we get this output up high, but unless we keep it up high, and then we keep doing more and more of it as we get fitter and burn less calories doing it, it's a recipe for disaster. That's why you hit a plateau on your weight loss. That's why you will never do it without more sustained nutritional habits which save calories in the long term. Hopefully you found this useful. If you found this useful, I'd love you to subscribe and see more. I'll be throwing lots more videos about how to make it easier for you to lose weight, change your body, build muscle, get healthier, improve your longevity. And I'd love you to join me. And if you want to share this with a friend that you think would find it useful, please do. It might be really helpful for them too. And if you've got any questions on it, feel free to reach out to me on other platforms. Instagram's a good way to get me, Andy Me Coaching, and I answer every single inbox I get. I will get back to you at some point. So if you've got any questions on this, let me know. When I get time, I will get around to answering your questions. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Please hit like if you found it useful, subscribe for more, and I'll catch you at the next one.